A New York City art gallery repping Hunter Biden cashed in on COVID disaster loans following Joe Biden's inauguration. According to the New York Post, the George Burgess Gallery in Manhattan initially received a $150,000 federal COVID loan from the Small Business Administration last year. The loan was recently revised, with the SBA approving a further $350,000 loan to the gallery at the end of July, just before the marketing of 15 paintings by Hunter Biden.
The gallery also reportedly received nearly $80,000 in payments from the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program. The total taxpayer-funded relief came out to a whopping $580,000. Adding insult to injury, the gallery only employed 2 people during the pandemic. So I think a big question about this is, that people are going to be looking at this and saying, okay, at what point did Hunter Biden establish a relationship with this gallery? Was it before they got this money? Was it after they, or did he come in after they got the money? And then just another question about this money going to a gallery that's employing 2 people. There's a lot of questions around this.
Yeah, this is not. I don't want to be. Art is important. It has a social, cultural benefit, but we're trying to. Is an art gallery keeping that open really like the best use of taxpayer funds? And then you throw in the additional wrinkle that it's, this is a subsidy for Hunter Biden's art gallery. I mean, I'm sure I know how desperately, Kim, you want to own a piece of Hunter Biden art to decorate your lovely home. But even if nothing technically unethical happened, or this wasn't the reason why, it's the kind of corruption that naturally results from having, public fund twisted up in a presidential child, who's flailing in this way, and that this being the situation.
Well, Hunter actually lives right down the street from me. He lives
so you
in
can
Venice
walk down,
Beach.
get some art.
Right. Well, and I kind of assumed, looking at his art, that it would be for sale on the boardwalk here in Venice. And so I could go down there and just pay, maybe $50 or $100 and get myself a piece. But no, apparently you got to go to a fancy New York gallery in order to get some of Hunter Biden's art, which I know for a lot of artists is kind of a slap in the face. They're saying, oh my gosh, this guy's just, he's only selling this art for the high price he's able to sell it for because he's the president's son.
100%. Does anyone think it's just because of his name? It's like there's no,
it's sort
right?
of like George Bush, right? George W. Bush, who's also doing paintings.
Right.
And so people say, oh, I want to buy a George W. Bush painting because it's George W. Bush, right?
Doesn't he give gives the proceeds of that to charity? No, I'm not, by no means, not a Bush apologist or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's to generate for charity. I don't know what, maybe Hunter Biden will give it for charity too.
Do we think that's really going to happen?
Unlikely.
I don't know.
Unlikely.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But the thing is with George W. Bush and with Hunter Biden is just that their name is obviously giving them access to be able to sell these paintings for a high price. But, I think you're right. Look, I love art. I come from my father's an artist. I definitely think that we shouldn't be allowing art galleries and museums and whatnot to go under during the pandemic. I don't think personally any business should have gone under during the pandemic when the government was the one shutting businesses down. It was up to the government to then make sure that every single business should have been staying afloat, and every single person should have stayed afloat as well when the government was the one implementing these shutdowns on them. But at the same time, a gallery being able to procure $580,000 versus a lot of these other businesses, these small mom and pop shops that really did go under, and they had numerous employees and they weren't able to really stay open. Many restaurants, many bars, nightclubs, right, things that were unable to stay open, they weren't able to get as much help. And so it does this is just another example, whether or not this gallery had ties to Hunter Biden when they were applying for this. Of course, we still have to have those, we need to look into that and to see if there was some sort of, something going on there. But at this, it really does sort of highlight once again how the rollout of this money just sort of arbitrarily went out the door. And a lot of people, didn't Kanye West get a bunch of money for his company? And, there's just a lot of people that got the money that kind of makes you wonder, why did they get it? How did this happen? Could have this been done better?
Well, my favorite is the media companies. I just pulled that up because I remember Axios got a loan, a several $1 million loan, and then they returned it in humiliation when it it became public. But I just looked it up. So the Seattle Times got $9.9 million. The Tampa Bay Times cut $8.5 million. Chicago Sun-Times $2.7 million. Bustle Digital Group, Poynter Institute. But my issue with them is that they're reporting on, right? They're supposed to have some kind of adversarial relationship with the government, but the government's giving them millions of dollars. So.
But they're at least employing more than 2 people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, for how much longer? Some of these were newspapers.
That's true. Devin Nunes did take to Fox News to express his frustration with Hunter Biden's art career. So let's go ahead and let's watch this.
Congressman, he's fraternizing them. They're taking selfies and having drinks together at the gallery in L.A. And there's another one coming up in New York.
Who buys a piece of artwork and doesn't put it up on their wall? I mean, how are they going to keep this secret? It's ludicrous. The whole thing is outrageous. The American people know it. This was supposed to be the most transparent administration in history, and clearly they went to an area that's known for fraud and money laundering. I mean, that's why they're doing this.
Yeah, it's obviously, I think Republicans would rather talk about Hunter Biden is their favorite subject because he is an easily criticized figure and doing ridiculous things, and this is ridiculous. So it's not surprising they want to bring it up.
Well, and I would like to know, I don't know this answer. Maybe you do know this, but was Ivanka Trump still selling her clothing when she was, when Trump was president? Was her clothing still for sale? I think it was.
Yeah.
So I think that obviously children of politicians are going to benefit. We know that Kamala Harris, isn't it her niece that was writing children's books or selling a book?
Well, isn't her stepdaughter?
Or maybe it was a step. Yeah, it's one of those.
She's a fashion. I think she's a fashion designer or doing some modeling. Or I think she was at that Met Gala. I think she was in one of those recent events where nobody is wearing masks. Or all the staff are masked, carefully following restrictions. The elites are partying like it's normal times. And that's another thing, right, with this, as you were saying, with an art gallery getting it. The pandemic has been this tremendous wedge between how the elites live their relationship to power and how what the rest of us are meant to subsist on and forced to put up with. Yeah.
But then you could even go back to, just to kind of wrap this up, but to go back to like Bush and his daughters. And how isn't one of them now hosting, a television show? I mean, I think we see politicians' kids constantly being able to cash in on their parents' name. This isn't really anything new, but you're right. I think the media right now, the right really loves Hunter Biden. They love to grab onto him and say, what is Hunter Biden doing? And honestly, the least nefarious thing he could be doing right now is doing art and selling art compared to the other things that he could be doing.
That's a good point.
That we know about. So this is like, a good, I guess, a step in the right direction for Hunter Biden. Yeah. Go do something that maybe you might actually be skilled at versus other sitting on boards of companies where you have no business being on.
Yeah, quick, get these underqualified political daughters and sons paintbrushes is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, we'll have more Rising right after this. Please stay with us.